What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in on today's video. We have we're kicking off a beautiful weekend here in the great state of Michigan. We've got sunshine, we've got warm weather, and I'm just super excited because anytime we get this type of weather, I just get so much motivation to get out there and get some stuff done. And that is what we're doing today. We are going to be taking a break from the race truck. We have been doing a lot of work in the wintertime on the race truck. But I need to take a little bit of a break, work on something else for a little bit. So we are jumping onto Old Blue. If you remember, I posted a video of this old girl. That one right there. The old 7.3, the 1996 7.3 liter powerstroke turbo diesel. And I want to show you guys some of the stuff that we've done. And then we've got a really cool install video today. A little bit different, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get it going. So this old girl, man, I'll tell you, this thing is in good shape and bad shape all at the same time. I think we started with a really awesome project, though. So we actually started in the interior of this truck. And the reason for it is because our headliner up here was just falling apart and it was driving me nuts. So I said, you know what, let's start with the interior of the truck. So the first thing we did is we actually got the headliner taken care of, brand new, beautiful. It feels amazing. It worked out awesome. And what I discovered was, as I had a heck of a time trying to get this headliner out through one of these front doors because the extended cab doors don't open. So I was like, I think you got to go through the back glass. So that has ended up what we did. We actually pulled our back glass out, dropped the headliner out the back glass. And then when we reinstalled LMC truck, there's some LMC stuff all throughout this thing, but new window seal for the back glass, cleaned it up really nice. We also have done new door seals here all the way around, and then we also have done these exterior window seals. We've done these. There's one more, this guy up here on the door. That is a brand new seal. So we did that on both doors to hopefully get this thing sealed up as best as we could. Now, I will say, the floor of this thing was in really good shape. We did have to do some touch-up in some areas. Basically, we just had some surface rust that we needed to scuff up and then get some rust performer on it and clean it up. But we didn't really have any holes or anything crazy going on the floor of this truck. But this side rail for our weather strip was rotted out, so we did pull that out, and then we got some new 16 gauge plate and bent it up in our vise, and then we got that spot welded in for this side. You can see we did a little bit of painting as well over here just because of some of the prep work. We're not looking for a perfect job here. We're just trying to stay ahead of some things. So one of our big missions was to try and get this truck sealed up and watertight. We were getting some water intrusion from the back window. We were also getting some water intrusion from the doors that would get down into our door seals down here. So we needed to get this thing watertight. We did have to do a little bit of rust repair on the back glass. There was just one small pinhole. So we did get that taken care of. And then we've got with the new door seals and everything, we were like 99% sealed up. We were not getting any water intrusion whatsoever. However, we were still dealing with a little bit of water intrusion through the passenger side door. And what I discovered is that the door pins were wore out on this passenger side door, and it wasn't allowing this seal, this brand new seal, and the new door seal or cab seal here, it wasn't allowing those to seal up. And we were getting some water intrusion right down here in this pocket. So we took on the task of new door pins. Now, before the door pins, I just want to mention too, you can see we've got some fresh seam sealer down here. We also did our brand new drip rail seam sealed up there. And then we did pull our cowl because I heard a lot about down in here you can get some pretty serious leakage into the cab. So we got all of that re-seam sealed. And now with the fenders off, we can actually re-seam seal all through here. So we're going to rip all of this stuff out down that seam, re-seam seal all through there as well. Just because, man, this stuff is just, well, you can see it. Half of it is gone and missing, and it just peels right off. And so that's no bueno. That's not going to seal up very well. So we're going to dig all of this stuff out and re-seam seal everything while we got the fenders off. Now, for the door pins, if you look inside of here, check these bad boys out. 1 and 2. So these door pins are actually from Endurapin. They are very expensive compared to your other options that are on the market, but they do carry a lifetime warranty. So these door pins are made of tool steel, and so are the bushings. And then you can see they've got a little roll pin down here for to lock them in place. You just grease them up a little bit, stick them in. Our hinges were in really, really good shape, but unfortunately our door pin bushings here, not so much. Here's our door pin. So we got those squared away, at least on the passenger side. Today we're going to be tackling the driver's side, and I'm going to show you guys the method that I am going to be using to do these door pins. But before we jump into that door pin, we did on the floor of this truck, we did do all we did a bunch of sound deadening mat across the bottom of this floor, and then we also did around these corners and this back wall. All of that has sound deadening, and then we pulled our door panels off and we did sound deadening on our doors, our front doors here as well. So I'm hopefully going to have this thing sealed up very nice. You can also see, check this out. That is an aftermarket kicker stereo system that we've got going on. So all 4 speakers, the 2 in the door and then the 2 up in the corners here. All 4 of those are kicker speakers. Eventually we might do something with this, but since we had some of this stuff apart, I just wanted to get some fresh speakers, new ones in there. So we did that as well. Now, if we look in the bed of the truck, you can see we have a ZF5 stick transmission, manual transmission, and you will notice that there's no metal in this particular location underneath our mat here. We are going to be swapping this truck to a manual transmission. You can also notice we've got a 3rd pedal going on over there as well. So we're going to be cutting out right here once we drop our automatic out of the way. I'm going to cut the hole from underneath, and we're going to be putting a ZF5 transmission. In addition to that, you can see we have a transfer case as well in the bed of this truck, and that is because this truck was originally 2-wheel drive, and there is a opening over there because we are also swapping this truck to 4-wheel drive, ZF5 manual transmission. And then finally, we got a set of Super Duty axles, because if you've got an OBS and you aren't running Super Duty axles, who are you? So we've got a lot of work to do. We started with the interior. We're working our way out slowly but surely. We're going to jump into our door pins on the driver's side door. And yeah, let's do it. So Complete Performance has a really good video on doing this. But basically, we're going to be taking our little Dremel on our Milwaukee, and you're going to see the top of this door pin right there, okay? And we're gonna take our Dremel and just stick it right into that hole. We're gonna grind away at that on the top of that door pin. Same thing on the bottom here. We're gonna do the same thing, and then we're gonna be able to hammer these from the top just with a punch or something like this. And we're going to be able to punch those door pins out, and then from there we just got to pop out our bushings themselves. Now this door is not nearly as bad. We can close the door here. Let me zoom out a little bit. You can see we've got a little bit of it's not lined up very well, but if we grab the door down here at the bottom, you know, there's not movement there, but as soon as we go out here a little ways, we start to get some movement. Maybe it was closer. anyways, yeah, there's a little bit of play there in these ones. And when you buy them from Endurapin, they come in a pack of 4. So you can see we've got our 2 for this side, and then we've got our roll pins to lock them puppies in place. So I'm very stoked. I haven't seen anybody do a video on these Endurapins, so I'm very excited to kind of give you guys a tutorial on these things. And I'm excited to show you that these things, I mean, they're just so freaking cool. I really like really nice hardware, and that's exactly what this is. It's well worth the money, guys. I think it's like 120 bucks, but lifetime warranty. I don't want to have to do this job again, so that's why we're using these. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like once you get these things ground down a little bit. You can see we just took off the top hat of that thing. I'll tell you, it's hard to control this Milwaukee sometimes. So we're going to do a little bit of touch up on our hinge there, but we did a little bit better job controlling it down here. But you can see now that we took that top off, we're going to be able to put our punch right in the center of that hole and just hammer the crap out of it to get it out. Now, unfortunately, so the bushings are on the door side on the bottom, and on the top, or excuse me, they're on the cab side. And then on the top, they're on the door side. So when we do the top one, we can kind of swing the door out away, punch our bushings out, punch our new bushings in. But on the bottom, we got to get the door out of the way far enough. And what I learned on the passenger side is you just can't quite get enough angle on it. So you end up having to take off the hinge off of the cab side, or no, excuse me, off the door side. Yeah, you're going to pull these 2 bolts out and just go ahead and pull that hinge out of the way. That way you can punch out these bushings that are on the door or on the cab side. So, yeah, let's grab our punch. We'll do the top one here real quick first. There we have it. First door pin is punched out. And now we can go ahead and punch out our bushings. Like I said, you can see the door swings out far enough that we can actually get our punch in here and punch those bushings out. So this bottom bushing is going to go down. The top bushing is actually going to go up. So we're going to have to pull away at the door a little bit more. But yeah, so just make sure that you are punching them out in the correct fashion. We're just going to use a punch. We're going to get right on the lip here of this bushing and go ahead and drive it down, and then we'll flip around and we'll drive this one upward. Right, so now you can see we've got the bushings popped out. You can see it can be a little bit of a pain. It always seems like that bottom one is a little bit trickier than the top one. The top one always seems to just pop right out, but that bottom one can just be a real booger. Nonetheless, we got to clean these up a little bit, and then we can go ahead and prep our new pin here and bushings, and just go ahead and press those in. I'm going to show you guys a fancy little way. We've got a bolt here and a nut, and I still need to go grab a washer here, but we're going to be basically tightening this up, and that's going to pull both of these bushings in. So let's go ahead and get her set up. All right, so what we got here is we've got a bolt. We've got our bushing in there. The bolt is long enough that it goes through the bottom. We've got our lower bushing in place, and then we've got a nut on the bottom side. And all we're going to do is we're going to tighten those two and draw these guys in. Now, because this particular one, we won't be able to do this exact same thing on the bottom, but because we have, because this one is on the door side, we've got this bar here, and so when we're drawing these in, it keeps it from trying to squeeze this hinge. On the bottom side, we're going to have to do them separately. We're going to have to do one at a time, and that's because if you try to do the same method up there, it'll actually try to pull these hinges together instead of driving the bushings in. So we definitely don't want to do that. But on the top, we get lucky. We can just go ahead and start tightening these up, and that's going to draw both of these bushings in at the same time. And then we'll just have to grease them up and throw our pin in. Okay, so you can see our top one is seated, and that's because we started by wrenching down on that top one to drive that one down. Now, on the bottom side, we're gonna pull the door away so that we can get past this hinge lip there, and we're gonna be using our ratchet on the bottom side, holding the wrench on the top side to help drive this bottom bushing into place. And there we are. So you can see, we've got both of these drove into place here. And all we're going to do is we're going to take some grease. We're going to fill these cavities up with grease. And then we'll be able to push our door back into place. And then we'll drop this pin down. Now, when we drop this pin down, we want to keep an eye on these holes, because we're going to want to make sure that we can access these holes. So we want them kind of facing like that. If you end up like this, or even slightly off like that, it can be a real pain. So you want to make sure that when you drop this pin in, that it's lined up so that you can put one of these roll pins into place. All right, and there we are. You can see we've got the pin punched all the way down. We've got nice grease all going through there. Now on the bottom here, so these roll pins, both of these pins come with 2 holes down at the bottom for the roll pins. Now the top one is going to use the top roll pin hole, and the bottom one is going to use the bottom roll pin hole because of, well, how this all lines up with the door hinge and the cab side hinge. Now I accidentally put it in the bottom one, but fortunately they give you an extra roll pin, so I said screw it, I'm just going to leave it. We'll punch the top one in. So yeah, the top door pin is done. We can go ahead and move to the bottom now. We're going to go ahead and grab our punch here, and we're going to go ahead and start hammering right there to drive this guy out. All right, so like I said on the bottom one here, once you get that pin out, you have to pull this door hinge off. These are 2 13 mils. So we got to pull these both off so that we can punch these bushings out, because you just can't quite pull this door away far enough to be able to drive those out. And then we're obviously going to have to get our bolt and nut set up wherever it went. We're going to have to get our bolt and nut set up that we had up here. We're going to have to get that set up down there. So we need some room. So we're just going to pull our 2 pins off here, or our 2 bolts, 13 mil head bolts, and get that hinge out of the way. So you can pull this hinge all the way out if you want. I'm just going to rest it off to the side there. But you can see now we can access both of those bushings. The door's actually resting on the hinge itself. And so we can take our punch those out. And then I can show you guys, we have to do, like I said, a little bit different setup with our bolt here. We actually have to incorporate a washer, a 1/2 inch washer. So I'm going to go over that. And like I said, we have to do the bushings individually. So a little bit more of a task than the top ones. But let's go ahead and punch these out real quick, and then we'll go over that. Okay, so with those bushings out of the way, these bottom ones are always such a pain in the butt. You can see we've got our setup here. So we've got a 1/2 inch washer on the bottom, and that is because when we tighten this, we need that bushing. It's going to poke through on the bottom side of this hinge, and so that washer is going to make up that difference, and the opening is large enough. So all we're going to do is just drive these together, and it's going to push that bushing right down in. The top one is pressed in, and now all we do is we reverse the sequence here on the bottom side. So our 1/2 inch is at the top, and we're going to be driving it in from the bottom up. So again, we'll just drive these together, and then we can grease these up and put our pin back in. All right, so we got the bottom one in. This one took a little more persuasion, but you can see we got our roll pin in there as well. We had to beat the crap out of this one to get this one in there, but it is in. We got our hinge back on. Top one is done, and let me tell you, this door is rock solid now, not moving at all. It rotates very nicely. Don't worry, we've got some pins for this panel. We'll go ahead and replace those, but good to go. Let's see how it closes. Wow. That's close. So we know that that is going to have to get moved up a little bit, because right now it's closing, and it's closing really nicely, but that's because that's low. So the next step is going to be to get these body lines to line up, and that's where we got to move up here. And so with the fender off, this makes it a lot easier, but we're going to get in here with these 313s, and we're going to make some adjustments. We're also going to make some adjustments off of these back here. We need to make sure that this door isn't sticking out at the top or bottom. We got to get these body lines to line up by moving our striker pin and making sure that it opens and closes with ease, but is lined up. So I'll show you guys on the passenger side. So over here on the passenger side, you can see our body lines are perfect. We've got a nice seam across the bottom, nice seam across the top here. A lot of screwing around with this stuff over here to get it lined up properly. But once we had it, you can swing the door open and it closed really nicely. Body lines look good. And she shuts like a real man's truck. So we had to make very minor adjustments over on our hinges over here. We had to move the door up just slightly. And then this very top one we had to tilt in to get our gap here. Not really our gap, but our make sure that this transition is smooth. But you can see we've got our body lines lined up. Door opens and closes beautifully. And that's a wrap, guys. That looks good. So that is going to wrap up today's video on the door pin install and kind of an update for you guys on the blue OBS build. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and there's a lot more content coming on it when we do the ZF5 swap, four-wheel drive swap, and 05 plus axle swap. And then we've got a bunch of engine work that we've got planned for this thing. A lot of the parts are actually already here for it, but we're trying to do this thing in stages. So we got to get our front bench seat repaired, and then that thing can go back in. But like I said, we're working from the inside out on this truck. So the next step for this build is definitely going to be getting the transmission, the automatic transmission out of there. We've got some seam sealer that we're going to do today, but then we're going to dive into that ZF5 swap so that we can get that installed underneath the truck. Along with that, we are going to have to do that front core support. When we do the engine work, we'll take care of that. And then we also have to do the front cab mounts. They both sides have a little bit of rust, so we got to cut those out. We've already got the new ones, so we got to get that squared away. We'll probably do a set of S&B cab bushings as well since we're there. So yeah, a little bit at a time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about the build. And like, comment, subscribe if you're new. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.